check out that scroll speed and we'll be good to go. So this is unplanned because we have Rubenstock parachuting in and replacing the AWOL Winchester here. Winchester was obviously scheduled to play in this round of 16 against Melkor, but no idea where he is, and Rubenstock was on hand. Rubenstock will be familiar with these unfamiliar settings because he casted with Nilford earlier today and also played some test games testing the settings with him. So at this point he's probably going to have a little bit more experience and know-how as to how this plays out. But Melkor actually seems to have something up his sleeve because he's playing as Chinese here, which is unusual from the games that I've seen, which is not all of the ones in this tournament, where players have tended to favour Huns. But Chinese are obviously a superpower in the Clash of the Hippo settings, principally because their difficult start is negated by the settings that you have here with the medium resources and such. There are other maps potentially where they could have shined as well, but it's definitely a very, very solid pick here, and very flexible between scouts and archers as an opening, although we see both players going for scouts here. I've said in my previous casting of these games, these settings between Slam and Tattoo, that the scout opening is just so powerful. It takes a while to mass archers up. You can afford 5, I think, from the get-go, but it takes a while to get fletching, whereas starting with a high amount of food, you can get a few scouts and quickly cross the map and attack your enemy. The scout opening is really strong. And the other thing being that because we start in the feudal age, players don't automatically have a barracks before they get their archer ranges and stables. So if you want to defend from scouts with spearmen, then you actually have to invest 175 wood in a barracks that you might otherwise not want to pick up, so to invest in. So the scouts are a great choice in these settings, and early engagement here seems that Rubenstock with one more scout in the area actually came away from that a little bit better, but both of them actually with one really low HP scout there. In total, Rubenstock stretching out to 5 military already, so investing quite a lot of early food into scouts. Melkor 3 villager advantage maintained from that Chinese start, of course, but hasn't produced as many scouts just yet. You can see him occupying this hill, trying to secure the lumber line so he can begin to gather wood. But Rubenstock has other ideas about that, tries to move in and stop that from happening. Initially looked like he was getting the better of that fight, but one more scout emerging from the stable and the villagers getting involved turned the fight, and Melkor will get back on wood, although just for now he is one scout down in the vicinity. Production is right there though, and with a couple of villagers getting involved, he will be able to drive Rubenstock away from his wood line, hopefully not sustaining any village casualties, but they're all on full HP. Pretty intense scout micro to open this game though. Action from the get-go here. You see that Rubenstock is 3-2 ahead. It's all scouts from now on as Melkor gets housed. 25 pop. Of course that will never happen to Rubenstock during this game because he is the Huns, and Huns do not need houses, of course. 3-3 in that case to kill to death ratio now. Game's moving a little bit fast, but I don't know whether they actually paused or not. I'm hesitant to touch the speed settings just now because we don't seem to be bumping against the host time. 2 archers being added by Rubenstock now. Let's take a look at his base as all the actions being at Melkor's. We can see that he's not yet mining gold, so he's just using starting gold. I think you start with 300 to produce 5 archers initially that you can afford along with fletching, if I'm right. I think you can get 5 archers and fletching. But yeah, he's the first to make that transition into combined arms. Looking at the maps, Melkor's got a really nice area in the north that he can wall off for 2 secure lumber lines, but otherwise his mines are all very far forward. This one is going to be walled out, and then the rest of them are on the front of the base, with Rubenstock being very aggressive from the start. Could be difficult for Melkor to actually mine gold here. Rubenstock's base, meanwhile, this main gold is in a fair position really. It's not really a back gold, but considering Melkor's angle of attack, it sort of is. As we see Melkor delete a house and try, I think he's going to come in and bring those villagers into the fight. He's doing that a little bit delayed, but he's going to get a nice clean up on Rubenstock's archers here. And that takes the kill to death ratio way in favour of Melkor. 10-5 now. He's made a good start to this game. He's a military unit ahead, 3 villagers ahead, so that's a 4 population lead. And looking in good shape with a semi-wall base, but just like I said, the getting onto gold could be a bit of an issue, but after that really nice fight on the outskirts of his base, it's probably him that will be going on the offensive now, and Rubenstock will be the one defending, so that kind of solves Melkor's issue of exposed gold for the time being after that wonderful fight and that wonderful trade that he just made. And feeling like he's able to now invest resources into Wheelbarrow now. Obviously that's a little bit of a bigger investment with the one click, but with the time he bought himself, he doesn't mind pressing Wheelbarrow instead of a villager and a scout. And he's now hitting Rubenstock's wall lumber line, getting 2 villagers straight away. Rubenstock should save a 3rd, but that quick wall wasn't quite completed. It was this far right tile there. Also looking a bit messy from Rubenstock here. The one villager that was walling there went idle. He's actually walled another one out, and he's now down by 5 villagers. His military population has surpassed Melkor once again, but that's simply because Melkor's been making do with the military that he had in the field after that excellent fight that he took, and they're concentrating on economy with upgrades kicking in. I think I saw the feudal economy upgrades coming in, either double bit axe or horse collar, I can't quite remember, but he got Wheelbarrow as well. So Melkor consolidating his advantage now and getting upgrades and just cutting the military production for a moment. It's a good read on the game there. He knew he was in the ascendancy, and after taking that fight and used the breathing room from there just to really power up his eco. I like his plays thus far. Seem to be not struggling, but slightly on the defensive at the start with Rubenstock's aggression, but he's definitely dealt with all of that for now, and beginning to completely wall up his base. Actually, I didn't take note of the far western extent of it, but it's very, very wallable, isn't it? If there was only a gold mine here, he would be laughing, and sorted until well into late Castle Age pretty much. Then again, I'm talking as if this is standard timings. Some of these games you don't hit Castle Age forever because the fighting is obviously starts off straight away in feudal and never stops, so the timings are not well established here. There's no meta. There's only a handful of games being played on these settings, and it's going to be interesting as the tournament continues to see the variety and approaches here. It's almost like it's 1999, 2000 again, and we're figuring the game out. Not exactly. Not exactly, because, you know, obviously with a wealth of experience you can transfer things here, but obviously the builds are non-standard at this point. Experts are just using their experience to make decisions here. We are getting to the point where the game has settled down into a regular game sort of now, because, you know, these are the kinds of economies you'd expect to see after players having been in the feudal age for a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and things have sort of regularised a bit after that crazy opening that you tend to get in these settings. The Melkor getting Town Watch and Scale Barding Armour. Town Watch obviously a defensive upgrade to give him line of sight, make sure Rubenstock isn't sneaking anything, but with the amount of military that Rubenstock has in this fight here, he's probably realising that Rubenstock wasn't doing that, and the two will engage in a fight. Now there are more scouts overall for Melkor, and this is the issue with the archers. It takes a long time to get the mass. Even with fletching they're struggling, and Melkor has actually got +1 armour and bloodlines done, which means that in open ground, and unless the enemy archers are in huge numbers, they really do overwhelm them. And Rubenstock just cannot take a fight. He's even going to invest in another archery range here, because he's more or less confined to this base with the numbers. But as he does that, Melkor clicks up to the Castle Age, whilst Rubenstock is nowhere near. The Chinese economy in these settings is just absolutely wonderful, but not only that, Rubenstock was also 4, 5, 6 villagers behind for much of the last 5 minutes of the game, and that has really told on the fact that Melkor has more population, more upgrades, and has clicked to the Castle Age when Rubenstock has no resources left in the bank, really. Yeah, if Rubenstock wins this, then Rubenstock is the player. Rubenstock will play this series as a replacement for Winchester, as Neil is explaining. It's not merely the case that Rubenstock's filling in a game for Winchester. That wouldn't be fair on him. So Rubenstock is now getting a little bit adventurous, sending some army out. And I feared for his archers there as they kind of split off from the scouts. And now they're going to end up downhill from those bloodlines, forging, scale, barding scouts. And that was a really precarious situation. But fortunately, Rubenstock doubles back with his own scouts. And that's just enough numbers to keep Melkor from prowling around. He's just hit the Castle Age. And I was about to say, with this many scouts still on the field, will he consider light cav? And that's exactly what he's doing. Light cavalry, chain barding armor. He's going for a quick wall off around his goal here. I like this. He just needs to keep his units out of the fight for the next minute. He's actually must be on a second stable now because he's got a knight as well as researching light cavalry at the same time. Yep, stables, 2 stables. Going to be briefly pushed away from gold, and Rubenstock might pick up a villa or 2 here, but he's got bigger problems than actually shooting those villagers because he now has a horde of +2 now, light cav, and 1 or 2 knights popping out. Rubenstock is losing everything now. This could be the game. Rubenstock venturing out, not really sensing that his opponent was up, I think, in choosing to venture out the way that he did. I think if he'd known that Melkor was on his way to the Castle Age, well on his way, then he may not have chosen to go forward like this. He's still bringing more archers forward, but 6 or 7 feudal archers would struggle to kill a single +2 bloodline knight in the Castle Age there, and certainly not half a dozen of them. So as I suspected, Rubenstock concluding that the game is lost there and calling GG. So fast game 1, action packed. Melkor takes it. It'll be 1-0 to him. So this is Hidden Civ, no repeat pick, so players will be forced to choose different civs in the next game to what they just used, and we're going to have Continental, so look forward to that in just a minute. Melkor is saying sorry about the spectator delay he didn't see. There was 3 minutes spectator delay on that, which was 3:30, which is a manageable amount, but he's sensibly decreased it to 1 minute 30 now. So I'll play a little bit of music and we'll be back for the next game in around 1 minute, I should think, 1 to 2 minutes.
Yes.
Melkor realising that he didn't have the map, so brief delay, but Rubenstock does have the map, so the players are just switching hosts, and it'll be a minute once again. Oh, damn it. You guys can see my taskbar, I think, on the stream. I'm not sure. My AOC did this before. We may just have to put up with it because I can never get it to go away except by restarting AOC a lot, which we don't want to do. Can you see it on the stream? No, you can't. I don't think. Let me just... Oh no, that's good. Okay, that's just going to be an annoyance for me. I can see my taskbar and all my windows are open. Overlaid over my AOC, but I'll have to deal with it. Welcome to game 2 of this series. This is Clash of the Hippo, a tournament played on unfamiliar settings, and someone was asking what are those settings. It is on the overlay outside of the games, but for those who perhaps can't read it, maybe on a lower quality, and the text is quite small. We start in the feudal age, hence the opening builds of the players that we saw in the first game, where players are building stables and archer ranges instantly. Continental don't quite get that in general because players quite often want to find a good location for their docks in the opening minutes. But in addition to the feudal age, we also start with medium resources, so players can do quite a lot of things in the first couple of minutes of the game. On a land map, that can mean, as I said, just military straight away. Plonk down a stable, build a few scouts, have an army of scouts by minute 2. So we have fast-paced games here taking place. And finally, the stone walls are moved to the castle age, and players only start with 30 stone. So if they want to build a tower to protect an exposed gold, for example, they also have to mine stone first. All in all, it combines to make a set of very fast-paced settings that are conducive to aggression, and the maps that Nilfgaard chose for this series generally facilitate that as well, with open maps such as Arabia, and also custom ones like El Dorado being in the set maps. This is Continental. We've got Melkor and Rubenstock both going for Japanese. Good civ, of course, as there is a lot of water on this map. Powerful fishing ships, of course, to take advantage of these groups of deep fish that you often find in the corners of both players. I'm struggling to click on my minimap because of my taskbar is there, but that's why I've had to drag it down. But both players going and heading out for the corners to begin building up their fishing fleets, neither of them falling into the trap of making a dock on a map edge where there isn't anything to actually fish in quite a lot of cases. Early scout fights were the only action thus far on this map. As I said, with the water being there, the players are choosing docks rather than military buildings initially. But neither player wanting to commit to the scout fight. Seems Rubenstock came off quite a bit worse. And he won't be able to attack a villager with such a low HP on his scout. Leaving villagers straight away, of course. All Dark Age grades such as Loom researched. And both players for now just adding fishing ships and walling off their maps, really. It could be a somewhat passive start with players looking to fish boom and leapfrog to the Castle Age. Rubenstock is close to completing a full wall, bringing some extra sheep or perhaps his starting sheep inside his perimeter, and with those palisades there he will be completely walled off from the rest of the map. This one is somewhat redundant, although if we check his scouting he may not have the information to realise that. He could think that this links up, but we, being the omniscient beings that we are, can see that it does not, and that he's sort of wasted about 30 wood there. First galley moving out for Rubenstock. He's going to move down here to find Melkor's docks that are building up, or he should do if this galley actually continues on its path. Melkor with the second dock already. I wonder if that's third dock in fact, so he's presumably starting to produce galleys now. He's not just yet. Double dock could have just been a double dock fish boom, but with villager going over to gold, even though there's a hell of a lot in the bank already, I thought he would be doing galleys by now, but it's actually just triple docks and fishing ships. He managed to get out about 15 fishing ships, then he'll be to the Castle Age in no time at all. Picking off Rubenstock's scout, but Rubenstock does have good information about the map. He can see some of what Melkor's base layout looks like. He's explored a majority of the land on the map, but unfortunately hasn't found Melkor's extra docks, only just found the one with his single galley there. And like I said, he's not aware that this isn't joined up, although you can perhaps predict it. And Rubenstock is on his way to the Castle Age already. Very, very fast start. Also being able to add an archery range and a blacksmith, those are his feudal age buildings, of course. Going for the second range, I'm interested at how Rubenstock managed to completely leapfrog Melkor, and the answer is somebody forgot that they start with boars. They were like, I'm in the feudal age, that's fine, and didn't take either of his boars, so there is lies the difference. It's hard for me to jump down here to this fight because I can't even click on my minimap, the bottom part of it, because of my taskbar is covering it up. But Melkor did add a couple of galleys, and he's chasing Rubenstock away from his harbour right now. That will matter very little if Rubenstock just goes to the Castle Age and adds in War Galley together with Bodkin Arrow and stuff, but I think he's going to concentrate most of his wood and gold resources on land army and invest in crossbowmen, starting to pump archers from two ranges. So the key question is here, what kind of castle time is Melkor going to be able to get? He's got lots of fishing ships, so he shouldn't be too much longer, but he's already quite far behind as Rubenstock is about to hit the Castle Age. And will his lack of taking his two boars actually cost him? We saw Slam, I think it was, in the series that I casted with Normano, the first series from this tournament, not taking boars in a lot of the games, and it didn't cost him too much. He won that series 4-2, but it was quite funny. Maybe Melkor was just looking at Slam's victory in that series and going, hey, maybe not taking my boars is the way to go. I somehow doubt that that is actually going to be the meta for this tournament, just to ignore all balls. And now Melkor is being taken by surprise, and he's about to be in even more trouble because he's going to try and rush this market with all those villas. I thought they were going in for the fight as well, but the crossbow upgrade kicks in for Rubenstock. Bodkin arrows on the way, and Melkor is losing villagers all the time now. As Rubenstock comes forward with a forward siege workshop, this is right in his wheelhouse to be playing like this. Going super aggressive. I think playing standard, in as much as you can play standard on these settings, would play into Melkor's hands. Rubenstock, such a well-rounded ASC player, playing deathmatch and such, he'll enjoy the fast pace of these games and applying pressure to his opponent. And right now he's got a sizable advantage as he's in the castle age as well as being 4 villages ahead. I'd love to see him going down to the bottom of the map with something on water and attacking Melkor's fishing. But either way, he's got his opponent on the rack right now, really putting a lot of pressure on him. And Melkor's basically walled into this tiny area. Right now, if Rubenstock had the stone, he could basically kill Melkor with a single tower placed here. It doesn't even need to be that close to the forest just to hit the entire wood line and pretty much all the gold line. Of course his crossbows can do the same, but they have to get a little bit closer to the wood and potentially get shot by the tower. But Melkor's more or less building a cage for himself right now. And I describe it as a cage because I really do think that Rubenstock just has him as his plaything right now. It's not a defensive perimeter, it's a prison. And really that tower is not going to help him for too much longer, especially if Rubenstock gets a second mangonel out in short order. How did Melkor win the first game? Was he trolling or is this 2K play? Well, that is the answer as to why we see such a big difference from the first game, but it's also a different map, of course. Do you want to observe that Melkor is at least making ground for himself by attacking Rubenstock's fishing ships and stopping those from working for now? As I said, I'd have liked to see Rubenstock maybe just add something on water to attack Melkor's harbour, but for now he's making so much ground on land that perhaps it was wise to keep all of his resources invested in the land push. Melkor will hit the castle age, but you see he's going to have a problem next. He's going to have so much trouble taking resources. That second tower will help Melkor defend the wood line, but even so those crossbows will pick off vills for fun. And Melkor right now is just... his base is the size of a postage stamp at this point. And Rubenstock still sticking with the second mangonel, but it's going to take down the TC this fire. TC's cost a ton of resources to repair, and Melkor is not even gathering wood at this point. He's got a bank of wood to use, but that will disappear in a flash if he's continually repairing the TC. In so much trouble at this point. And Rubenstock at home is just... well, he's not really added anything in. He's gone on to stone, which will enable him to either put up a tower with his offensive villager or build a TC at home and consolidate his advantage with more eco at home. But for now, just adding resources into the push and actually banking up quite a lot. He could do with noticing that his troops are being killed as they try and reinforce the front line, coming all the way from home. And bringing a second villager forward. He's actually trapped a villager in there. I wonder if he's forgotten about the villager and thinks, I don't have one. Mangonel now out for Melkor. The hill advantage allows that one to survive its first shot. Trades 1 for 1 in the end. Big Mangonel shot on the villagers to end, and that was brutal. Melkor. I wonder if he realised he didn't take his pause. But just the Rubenstock going aggressive and the castle age time being 3, 4, 5 minutes different was the key to that game, and it was just a bloody end to it really, as Melkor was just destroyed. So quick game, and as we start to wrestle through this best of 7, it's 1-1, and the next game will be Gold Rush. Alright, welcome back to Game 3 on WSVG Gold Rush. Currently 1-1, as people were discussing. It really was a failure of scouting that cost Melkor a great deal in that game. I was focusing more on Rubenstock scouting because I was confused by that interior wall he did. It didn't seem to make any sense, and looking at his scouting vision to kind of figure out why he considered that to be necessary. But obviously Melkor not scouting his two balls and then not scouting that front opening to his base while after walling the side was a big issue for him. And that's why he was kind of complacent and almost surprised by those archers appearing in his base. And then the timing for Rubenstock, of course, was good as well, as they transformed into crossbows shortly after the attack. Made sure those villagers couldn't do anything. Once again, my taskbar is covering up the whole of my, well, the bottom part of my minimap, so forgive me if I don't notice some things because of that, because you can actually see more than I can on that minimap. I'm going to have a boar steal attempt straight away by Melkor here. He's going to take that back to his... Rubenstock's laughing as it disappears. Where his scout is over there. This is something that makes boar stealing harder in these settings. The scouts, of course, had their feudal age speed upgrade, which means that the micro required to take the boar is more intense than usual. You have to zigzag far more because the boar just doesn't have the speed, and Melkor's seemingly discovering this now. But if you fail that enough times, then you can end up taking the boar down to such low HP you're just going to end up killing it instead. But he seems to have cottoned on to what's making... No! Here we... Oh, I thought it was going to lose his aggression again. He seems to have cottoned on to what makes it harder. Melkor in the red, playing as the Huns and opening up with a stable, of course. He used Chinese in the first game, so Huns still available to him. Whereas Rubenstock naturally opening up with archers, given that he is the Britons. And now I have window previews all over my AOC and I can hardly see anything. Let me try and fix this. My computer is annoying the hell out of me. Okay, this is better. I still can't see the bottom part of the minimap. I guess I could, like, completely minimize my taskbar. Maybe that would work. But I'm going to focus on this fight, since that it's about to happen. As Rubenstock comes forward with 5 archers with fletching. We've seen that quite a lot in this tournament. 5 archers and fletching, and the players do have the gold count for that right at the start of the game. Melkor with just the 5 scouts with no additional upgrades researched at this point, but he will add a blacksmith and probably, with all of this food income, be able to get skill barding pretty damn quickly, and also bloodlines I would have thought. Already got some gold, of course. It's really hard for Rubenstock to do damage at this point because every single one of Melkor's villagers is working underneath the TC, and even archers with their range can't really threaten him. Finally sending villagers out towards, I presume, the forest to build a lumber camp, and they're almost walking right into the path of Rubenstock's archers. But looks like they'll go back towards the TC and just take some straggly trees. I don't think he had the wood in the bank actually to have placed a lumber camp at that point. And now, with these villagers straying more than tired from the TC for the first time in practically the whole game, Rubenstock's actually able to do some damage, but he's gonna get caught out here. He now faces half a dozen scouts with +1 armor, and even with a hill bonus, those archers are in a lot of trouble here. Scouts obviously just overpowering them in open ground, although the micro is going well for Rubenstock at this point, picking off a couple of scouts as he retreats, but with the archers then retreating downhill and taking some extra damage hits, they will be cleaned up in short order. But with Rubenstock's early aggression, he's now done a sizable wall off at home. I'm thinking no, there's not a hole there actually. Those white lines, the corners of that seem to be touching. So he is actually completely safe at home and got a little bit of gold that he can take within here. Obviously he's lost one of his boars. Did he take the other one? Must have done. Yeah, there it is. So he won't be too far behind in terms of food, especially as he hasn't been spending it, and he spent most of the archers in the initial phase of the game. So with this approach, Could be looking to leapfrog a little bit faster into the castle age and then start to dominate the middle area with those Britons crossbowmen. Looks like, meanwhile, Melkor also starting to wall off at home, and he's obviously not able to apply any real pressure to Rubenstock, who can just re-wall for fun with only scouts being present for Melkor. So I think we'll see the game shift to be passive now, with one or both players focusing on a quicker transition to the castle age. Melkor already starting to build up a bank of food, actually 330, and he's still got sheep under the TC, and he's still got some deer to take. So with him now going on to berries and being able to add a couple of farms soon, really don't anticipate it being terribly long. He's now even completing the full wall off across the front of his base, so identical approaches really from the two players in a way. I don't mean identical in terms of unit composition, but it's an early skirmish followed by a full wall off, and then I hesitate to call it booming, but it's a focus on economy. Some stone being added by Rubenstock though. He could be targeting a castle at some point. Obviously, Britain's castle age, you want to take advantage of the cheap TCs, and starting off with only 30 stone in these settings. You do need to add some vills to stone to add TCs, but he could continue to send a few more vills out to stone over the next few minutes to prepare to actually get the stone for a castle dropping the middle slightly later on. Just taking a look at the middle, all of the gold is actually downhill from this area, so a castle here or here would be a really nice strategic one to control the middle from an uphill vantage point. Rubenstock on both gold and stone at this point, whereas Melkor hasn't begun to mine. He could also just be thinking about stonewalling everything when he reaches castle age as well, but he can't do that right now. Wheelbarrow kicking in for Rubenstock. Trying to get that before he goes up to the castle age, so that he benefits from it with his 30 plus villagers whilst he's on the way. There is a bit of a villager difference between the two players, but it's just a product of the time spent researching Wheelbarrow. Pretty sure Melkor hasn't clicked that upgrade just yet. Let's take a look at Melkor's resources. He's actually much closer now. Obviously he stole the boar from Rubenstock. He did invest quite a lot of food in scouts, but it's basically a 600 plus food swing that you take away from your opponent and gain for yourself, so no surprise that he's just slightly ahead in the food race. And obviously Rubenstock has been concentrating on mineral resources a little bit. That's Rubenstock's starting scout being finally picked off as he didn't build a stable to add another one in. And Melkor clicks up, he's on his way to the castle age. Rubenstock sensing a little bit of vulnerability here, possibly. Some extra re-walling going on, double layering, and the forward tower on this only gold, who obviously knows that if Melkor beats him to the castle age and applies pressure here, especially with that hill just in front of it, he could be in for a tough time. So I quite like Rubenstock's decision to add a tower in just for safety purposes there on his only gold that he has access to at this point. What did get on stone early, so that could have been in his mind when he did that. Given that he did jump on stone that quickly, 125, to make sure he doesn't lose access to gold in the next few minutes. Really wise investment, I feel. And Rubenstock now really kicking it up on the gold mining, getting the upgrade, and that coincides with him dropping a second rage to start producing archers as he goes to the castle age. Those will be upgraded to crossbowmen, of course, benefiting from +1 range immediately, according to the Britons' bonus, and normally Bodkin will follow on from that. Had a 40-second difference in the castle times there, 45 seconds as Melkor hits it. Let's see what his instant reaction is. He's gone to 2 ranges now, so transition to cavalry archers most likely from him. But actually skirmishers being garrisoned in those ranges for now. Obviously predicting Rubenstock to go crossbowman in the Castle Age, and he's going to initially combat that with some skirmishers and his remaining scouts. No sign of upgrading either of those units to their Castle Age counterparts just yet. Focusing on economic upgrades just for now, bowsaw and wheelbarrow. And just keeping his scouts patrolling everywhere. Look at this, he's trying to stop Rubenstock from moving out from his base and fortifying the middle, sneaking army perhaps, or just building buildings out near the gold. But he doesn't spot anything with all of his patrolling, and that's because Rubenstock for now just taking the safety first approach and also the boom approach, getting up an extra TC on that front gold to keep it nice and safe and to allow him to gather more efficiently with more saturation. He's now no longer just inside the ring of the wall, he's outside too. Not venturing forth with his crossbowmen just yet. He does have an enormous amount garrisoned up. This would be very powerful to release those and to attack with at the moment. But having said that, Melkor did finally invest in a Castle Age unit upgrade, going to Elite Skirm. Bodkin Arrow's on its way. No +1 armor, but Bodkin Arrow kicking in. And Rubenstock does have the numbers, and of course with the range advantage that he has, he can micro against this, but if he strays too close to the skirmishers, it will be an unfavourable trade, especially with this hill disadvantage that he's currently incurring, and he's lost a lot of units to fighting against this. He will clean up the skirmishers, which don't have any armor upgrades at all, so they're still taking a fair bit of damage, but I feel like Rubenstock taking a few more losses there than he possibly had to. Melkor did come forward to try and build a forward siege workshop on that commanding hill that I noticed earlier, producing a mangonel, but Rubenstock's crossbows will sail right on by. The mangonel won't appear in the right place to get a surprise shot on those crossbows as they walk past. Always a bit of a dicey moment walking past an enemy siege workshop with a group of crossbows, because you never quite know what percentage production complete a mangonel could be on inside the workshop, but one could spring out and surprise you at any moment. But Rubenstock not falling prey to that here. He really fancies himself in the micro wars against Melkor's elite skirmishers, but so far it's not really happening for him. I'd say. I mean, these skirmishers are not taking hits and they're getting kills, even with the extra range that Rubenstock has, 5+3, and it was compared to 5+2, and it was actually +3 versus +1 for a little while in the previous fight. He's really not coming out on top in these engagements at all. Melkor with 15 to 12 kill to death ratio, but in terms of killing off those Castle Age crossbowmen, it feels like a lot more. And Rubenstock now trying to apply some pressure to Melkor's only current gold mining operation. There's a nice little hill there to probably get 1 or 2 quick kills on the villagers, but the main bulk of the elite skirmishers rolls in to shepherd those crossbowmen away from the gold mine, and Rubenstock will be forced to retreat into a couple of wolves. T90, eat your heart out. Oh, I think that wolf is locked onto this crossbowman. If T90's here, he's going to love this. The crossbowman even splitting to let the wolf actually attack. But in the meantime, we're missing out on a huge dodgeball fight down here as 2 mangonels go down in one shot for Rubenstock. Sort of uphill as well. I guess there must have been an initial shot that had lowered the HP. Melkor had actually saved up 3 mangonels inside that siege workshop before letting them all go. And he's now attacking the siege workshop of Rubenstock from a slight elevation advantage as the wolves pick up some kills. It has happened, and now it's 4 skirmishers chasing 4 crossbowmen across the rest of the map. And the skirmisher choice with the mangonels now being added to the mix by Melkor's really worked out for him here. He's traded so favourably against Rubenstock here as another mangonel pops out the siege workshop, gets an uphill hit, but it's not enough to take down Melkor's, and the siege workshop will be destroyed before Rubenstock gets another. So this is a really tough spot for Rubenstock now, because he's got Melkor controlling the middle hill with units that counter him really. Cavalry archers aren't counter, but elite skirmishers and mangonels on a hill when you've only got crossbowmen is a big deal, and Melkor's also got the cavalry archers in the mix to give him the mobility to move around and cut off Rubenstock's angles of attack, angles of escape. And Melkor taking a good strategic advantage in this game, but what is important to note that Rubenstock is now 20 villagers ahead, so he certainly has economy to turn this around. The question is whether he's going to have enough gold to turn this around. That said, obviously with this current composition from Melkor, he can kind of fight back against it with mostly elite skirmishers, except for against the mangonels. But now with 3 mangonels perched on that hill overlooking Rubenstock's town, this TC could go down in short order. That is taking about 300 damage from every volley of these mangonels. And with Rubenstock having almost completely mined out that gold mine, just 41 remaining, it's not the worst thing to lose it at this point, but what it does do is remove that defensive fortification on the hill in the front of his base and allow Melkor to continue pushing in. Rubenstock though will just shift his gold mining operations up here. Not terribly efficient, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. He just needs some gold at this point to help him fight back. Obviously you can micro against enemy mangonels with the Britain's extra range with the crossbows, but when the enemy has 4 mangonels and hill advantage, you'd be ill-advised to do so. And Rubenstock's just giving ground at this point. Could see some good mangonel shots here, cleaning up the rest of Rubenstock's army. If only Melkor's mangonels would shoot at the army, not the stable. Now Rubenstock needs a nice shot with the mangonels here. Needs 2 for 1 at least, or a big shot into the middle of the cavalry archers. That's the kind of thing that he wants. But he's going to lose that now. Almost getting it, and the crossbows finish it off. Okay, so he got 2 for 1 and some damage on the cav archers. That was a good mangonel for Rubenstock, but whether it's going to be enough, I don't know. But he should actually have the army. Those knights will clean up the mangonels, and Rubenstock engineering a comeback now. He has been able to replenish his losses even while suffering bad trades, because his economy is better. As you said, he's maintained 20 villager advantage, and as I said, at least he gets some gold, and that's going to enable him to fight back for now. But Melkor, meanwhile, is mining a hell of a lot of gold in the middle. So Rubenstock, even with a better economy, is kind of on a clock. He needs to get some control over the middle. He's trying to do that now, but he's ran into a large force of cavalry archers, and with his army somewhat split up, particularly the mangonel being out of the picture, Melkor's fighting back now. The appearance of the knights on the battlefield did initially turn this around, but running into too many cavalry archers there, those knights going down quickly, but has opened the way for the crossbowmen to move in and start doing good damage from the rear. It seems sort of neck and neck in the middle, to be honest, in terms of the fight between the two armies. Minor advantages being gained for each player, back and forth. Obviously the cavalry archers sort of have to do hit and run on the knights, but they're lacking upgrades at this point. No bloodlines, of course, and then they can't. The +2 armor hasn't actually been researched either. So, well, I say either. Obviously, what I'm trying to say is that he can't research it. But that mangonel shot there hitting the crossbows really turned that around, and Melkor now with a sizable control over the middle once again, and once again with a position to push into Rubenstock's base. Thumb ring being added to these cavalry archers now, which is a really important upgrade for them. Meanwhile, back at home, 3 extra crossbows back at Melkor's home, 3 extra crossbows doing good harassment on the wood line of Melkor, but they'll be cleaned up very, very quickly by those elite skirms. And now Melkor really starting to abuse the mobility of the Hun cavalry archers, zooming into the northern area of Rubenstock's base and taking down villagers quickly. He's sort of blundered into a bunch of elite skirmishers whilst taking a full TC's worth of fire as well. But those elite skirmishers, some of them downhill and none of them with armor upgrades until that very second, with +1 kicking in. But even so, that's a lot of cavalry archers on the hill. These are knights struggling with only +1 armor as well, and Rubenstock taking a lot of casualties now. This is a great position for Melkor. Not only is he slaughtering villagers and military units, but he's also occupying the only gold mine that Rubenstock has access to at this point. So Rubenstock really having to use the market right now. 500 wood being sold off. He does or have the larger economy to actually be selling resources for a while. It's not something that's sustainable forever because it of course becomes increasingly inefficient as the prices get worse, but in this situation has to be done. The knights are really not paying off now for Rubenstock, and apart from if he thinks he can run in and get some mangonels, I don't think it's worth adding them because they're going down so quickly to this massive cavalry archers with the only having the +1 armor and of course not being able to get bloodlines. This hill during the game has been really key for Melkor to take good fights against Rubenstock. Starting to get a bit bumpy, even though there hasn't been a pause. Which is normally what desyncs it. I'm gonna slow it down a bit. Finding it hard to click on the speed controls so my taskbar's covering it up, but let's take a look at the economies, relative economies. Rubenstock's sitting on some resources at least. He could afford a mangonel or two, but obviously gold was an issue for him for quite some time there, with those cavalry archers being parked on his gold mine, and the villager count has equalised pretty much. Rubenstock only 5 in the lead, and obviously had a lot more idle time as well, whilst those cavalry archers were in his base. It's also looking pretty crazy and efficient over here. He's getting housed a lot as buildings are destroyed on his front line, and Melkor really taking full control over this game, to be honest with this. Just strategic position that he has. The economies are still even in terms of villager amounts, but Melkor's been working more efficiently. He's got the military the military advantage. He's got almost double the army, even if a lot of Rubenstock's units are countering most of what Melkor has for the moment. But he has the strategic control over the gold and a hill bonus outside of Rubenstock's base. Really tough for Rubenstock to shift Melkor from that position. And Rubenstock's going to try and push out, try to drive Melkor off the hill, but the 2 mangonels are there. Rubenstock might get 2 for 1 here. If that shot had been a bit closer down here, then he would have done it. But actually, Melkor's mismicroing here, really, because he didn't fire his own mangonels at Rubenstock's. And losing 2 for nothing, but with some knights coming now, +2 and bloodlines done, these skirmishes are toast. 4 knights can clean up all of those, especially with the cavalry archers in behind, and destroy the mangonel. It's going to be a big problem for Rubenstock. He's going to lose so much of his army now, and he's calling the GG. So Melkor just taking control over that game and not letting go, really. Yes. Good performance by him, abusing or using the strategic advantage that he gained by pushing out in the middle and taking control of that hill. And it's going to be 2-1 for him. I'm going to quickly back out of the room, so I really need this. I'm going to rejoin Vubli actually, because I really need this to stop happening in game, because it's really off-putting not being able to see part of the minimap. Fortunately, there's no password on the room. And yes, I'm sorry about the game speed. Normally, if you join a game and there are no pauses in the game, then the game speed doesn't start to speed up by itself. But I don't know, it seemed to be happening in that game. The thing is, once you touch the speed controls once, then you're done for. Like, the game will start speeding up by itself all the time. So I tried to avoid that, but in that game it definitely became necessary. Melkor shows German on his in-game tag. Matthias. He's actually kind of a very cosmopolitan individual along with his brother Fëanor. They're Irish and American, and they have some kind of German connection. And they played for the UK team in Nations Cup once.